I know that the customs and other government departments have been working their socks off till very late hours to try and solve some of the issues. But clearly, we needed to put across the concerns that our members had, so that to ensure that the government is aware of them, and also to try and make suggestions to speed things up.
Now, we've seen those tailbacks over the last couple of weeks. We've heard the numerous reports from businesses, from individuals, from drivers themselves as well. Tell us about some of those concerns, tell us about some of those issues, tell us about some of those suggestions that were discussed at that meeting.
I think I have to say that things have improved somewhat from last week, but there is still a backlog. It hasn't helped, obviously, that the La Linea fair has been on, and that also that there have been two public holidays when the Spanish side of the border has not been operating. So that in itself always creates a problem, even in previous years. Yeah, but one has to understand that there has been a big change in terms of how goods flow from Spain and the wider EU into Gibraltar. The customs systems have changed both on the Spanish side and on the Gibraltar side. That has created much more work for those that are operating those systems on both sides.
And on the ground, what are your members telling you? How are your members suffering?
I can't be specific. I know, for example, in our case, in my business, we import beer, and we also have to import gas to serve that beer in draft in the pubs. And this morning I had to speak to one of the customs agents on the Spanish side to ask them, to plead with them to please bring in my gas cylinders. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gas for the weekend to be able to dispense beer. So that's an example, yeah. But I think, have to understand that how goods arrive in Gibraltar. You have trucks that come in directly with full loads. You have trucks that come in as groupage, so that's multiple consignments on one truck from the UK that would also come in. But then there's a lot of freight and consignments that get dropped off in stores in La Linea, to be then grouped onto a truck to bring them into Gib. As I understand it, that backlog still exists, and customs agents on the Spanish side and transport companies on the Spanish side are still trying to grapple with that backlog. So I think it's going to take some time before the backlog is cleared, and hopefully over time the IT systems can be improved, because they are quite cumbersome to use. And that's one of the representations that we've made here. And I know that, having spoken to a Spanish customs agent in Spain, they are also making representations to their representative bodies.
Now, do your members consider these issues still reasonable 2 weeks on, or is there growing concern amongst them?
I think there is concern, but I think they also need to understand that all of this has been delivered in a very short period of time, and it's only normal that systems do have issues. But in a way, one of the reasons why we reached out to government was to express the concerns, and I think the government understands that members are watching, and that if within a reasonable period of time, say by this time next week, the issues have not resolved, then I think that our members would rightly be expressing concern and asking for contingency measures to be put in place as necessary.
And has the government committed to any timeline with you?
No, they haven't, and I wouldn't expect them to either. They need to work through the issues, and one of the things that we've said to them is that perhaps the customs are being bombarded with queries from different traders, and many of those queries could be very similar in nature. And I think that one of the things that they need to do, and it's one of the things that we suggested, is that they improve the communication flows in terms of when solutions are found to issues, and communicate those to traders and to businesses. And we've offered ourselves to be part of that communication process.